I think that video games become a little bit less enjoyable because over time, as we grow up, as we get more involved with video games, right, we start playing them more often. The dopamine hits that we get from playing games just aren't the same anymore. It's like a tolerance that we build up. People look at this like an addiction, sort of similar to substance use, but it's different, right? It's not like hard drugs like cocaine or opioids where it's a very clear withdrawals that you go through. It's more like weed where everything's a bit more psychological. With video games where you're constantly getting hit with dopamine over and over again because it's instant, it's right away. Eventually you build a tolerance to that stuff and it just doesn't feel the same after a long time.
I'm playing video games since I was very young, and I think I still love them. I'm 35, and my first video game was in 1996, Super Mario. Yeah, it's ages ago, but as you can imagine, look at this shit. and playing Super Mario on a fucking Game Boy, and then now having VR.
I think we just lose interest. You know, people move on to different things, and they also end up liking different things. So a game like maybe like VRCHAT, sometimes you probably want to get into something more like Beat Saber, so you'd move off VRCHAT, and then one day you'll be done with Beat Saber, move on to something else. It's just constantly, we change all the time.
Because we've played it all. We've done it before. New things is new joys, but you've done it before, so you compare it to the old stuff, and it gets boring. And yet it also doesn't help that they keep making the same stuff. I play ROM hacks, I play the same shit over and over again. I play every game each year. I just go back to it. I don't feel less joy of it. You just gotta find that one thing that keeps you going.
You kind of start to recognize that it's meant to waste your time on purpose. I mean, I think overall we just tend to realize that our responsibilities are a bit more important than the things that we do to have fun. It ends up not being that fun because, you know, you worry that you're not on your responsibilities. At least personally, in my experience, I tend to wonder why I'm playing, like what I could be doing that would be doing something in the house, you know, like sweeping the floor.
I'm 27 and I have a similar opinion on games. What changed is not the fun with the games, but the expectations of most people. And I'm someone who can control his expectations a lot. I'm living with someone else here in my apartment, and this person has no control over the expectations. If the expectations are not completely fulfilled, at least whatever he saw is the worst crap he's ever seen. We always want the games to advance, and at some point it's difficult to advance the games.
Well, there's that,
Yeah.
and also, like, it's the same thing with any intellectual property. You have to think that, like, the real barrier to creativity has to be adoption. Like, if you don't buy the movie ticket, they're not going to make another one.
Only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you end up liking this video, consider subscribing.
Yeah, well, I don't play games without playing with other people anymore. So like the game itself usually it's not what's fun about playing games. It's more of playing with people, and I just use games to do that. Yeah, well, I've actually just got VR like 6 months ago, and I think it's pretty sweet. I like it. Unfortunately, it seems like most gaming like revenue is in the mobile market right now, which is terrible because there's the worst games I've ever played.
I'm actually so glad that you brought that up because I was just thinking about that regarding like you mentioned Halo, but I was thinking more Pokemon since that's sort of the kind of games that I like to play. Pokemon, it feels like it's recycled every year that they come out with a new version, and I've been a big fan of the games. The first games that I played were on the DS. I think it was Pokemon Pearl. I got it for my 7th birthday or something. I'm sort of exposing my age out here, but they sort of recycle the same formula over and over again, and they've recently started doing some new stuff, but I get that, you know, as soon as you get more familiar with the industry and you see, you know, a lot of it's recycled, it's not really stimulating anymore, it's the same old, it can really definitely lower that enjoyment as soon as you feel like, man, been there, done that.
I'm intrigued in VR and what's behind it, and consciousness, and I mean what we have, virtual reality and virtual reality, and even those distances, and you are in US and I am in Europe, and we're talking without any lags. Imagine this 100 years ago. So what's up 100 years from now on?
Like when I'm sitting on my couch on my PlayStation playing Fortnite, I'm not really doing anything except eating and moving my thumbs. Like VR, I'm actually doing stuff. I kind of worry that it'll be the next social media wherein it'll remove more need for actual interaction with people, and it'll encourage certain negative mental health things. It's gonna get big, but then certain things will come to light because it makes it like we're literally having a whole conversation right now, like we're right next to each other. It's easy to get carried away, you know. Like I've got my VR legs really good. I can play this for hours at a time. Like I can play Beat Saber and really work myself for like 2 or more hours, maybe 3 to 4.
I don't think I've reached that. I think I'll forever be a child in my brain. I'm 21.
Newer games have become less fun.
Oh, I agree with that. The industry does suck now. I don't want to see the same first-person shooter over and over again, just copy and paste with a different texture on it. And then you also got like Fortnite, Valorant, you know, it's just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. To give it a new fresh coat of paint kind of shit.
And the one game that I want them to stop making is Skyrim.
I've been on here for 7 years. Yeah.
Have you played VR for 7 years? Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
Like VRCHAT?
When
Like Dave
VRCHAT, when it went to alpha and then discontinued and switched to Steam.
Probably because you probably play more games, and so you start comparing what you've played to what you're currently playing, and so maybe some games the most fun you ever had, and if I play another game, unfairly comparing it, and it might not be as fun.
I don't know if you framed your question the right way, because I don't think that. Like, maybe we don't find the same games as fun, but like, I still have just as much fun with games as I did before. The one thing, you might not have as much time for gaming when you get older, because like you have, you know, life that gets in the way, responsibilities, maybe kids, work. Aside from that, like, yeah, games are still fun.
I think as of right now, it's still like early stages of stuff, you know? Like we've got what we've got right here. We're far from like a Ready Player One level kind of setup for everybody as that being the norm. In terms of immersion, you're absolutely right. It's like that next level up from, you know, we're just upgrading old things that we usually are used to seeing, but now like this is a whole new medium. You know, you get the introduction to movies, you had the introduction to games. Those are two different mediums. People are able to engage in them differently. And now with VR, it's sort of like that third pillar. We got something entirely different, exciting, it's new, it's that novelty feeling you get with new stuff. And it's, even though it's still young, early in its prospects, you know, you look at this and it's like, it's still shiny, you know, it's new shiny thing. I want to go try it out. It's a lot of fun. Even if it isn't like where we think it could be, it's still pretty damn cool that we've got it. I mean, think about the kind of technology it takes. It's pretty interesting.
So I also try to get friends of VR, because obviously if you look at that, it's just amazing. With an oven and some controls and good music. But when I try to convince my friends in real life, I let them play some very basic games. For example, table tennis or mini golf. And then they get hooked, and then they realize, oh, holy fuck, and I'm playing mini golf, which is 10 times better because the, I don't know, scenery makes much more fun. Yeah, so make real life better. That's VR.
Nostalgia, especially if you like go back to a game, like it's not as good as you remember, and you remember the game being a whole lot better than it actually was. No, the games are getting better and better. You just expect a whole lot more than you're actually given. Sometimes stuff like Cyberpunk.
I think that's a matter of perspective. I know plenty of people who are very old and, well, older, and still enjoy games like they did when they were young. I'm 21 years old. May not sound it, but I am.
In terms of mainstream popularity with the VR, I think that's really interesting. You look at stuff like phones, computers, those eventually became a little bit more mainstream as people had more access to them. I think it just comes down to accessibility for the everyman to be able to come by and find a reason, a need to be able to get it. There's got to be that draw for anybody to want to be able to come and pick up a headset. And right now, I think the niche is for gamers at the moment. That's where you see a lot of people using headsets. I think that's real great for being exposed to different kinds of people, cultures. You learn so much just from talking to people and being exposed to that kind of stuff. And it's just not only great for, just the social aspect, but I think for just kind of things that people can learn when they get on here, talk to different kinds of people from different places. I think there's value to that. And I think that's the kind of market that the people looking at this should really be hitting, that they need to tap into, is to be able to say, hey, you're no longer like limited to your area. geolocations aren't locked here. You got full range, okay? That should be what they use to market that. I think that's the real pull that they're missing.
Did you know the background story to this world? This guy here was the producer of, or the programmer of this world, but he died when some years ago, like 2. Yeah, it's my most favorite worlds of all. Yeah, I love it. I mean, all the options that you can scroll through is insane.
I think it is true, and I'll tell you why. Because as a child, your experiences are very few. You don't have, all that wealth of experience, and as you grow older and you've tried things over and over again, things start to feel more and more dull, as the same things are repeated over and over again.
I mean, I've been hearing a lot about like anxiety and depression, and I just want people to know like they're not alone. A lot of people have like. I mean, for me lately, like, I got diagnosed, like, lately with anxiety and depression, but, I've been off my meds, but little achievements, I guess, you can do. For me, I was one of those people who couldn't get, like, a car license, and I set myself a goal to get my license. I barely got it when I turned, like, 28. They moved me up, so, little stuff like that.
Be kind to others, and don't forget to drink water, especially when you're playing VR games.
Kindness is contagious. When you are kind, you inspire others. Be the Spark. Spreading kindness merchandise available now.